Welcome to Origination Overload. Today we are going to start a track together from scratch, and I'm going to try explain to you my whole process from start to finish. Let's go. Okay, so I'm using Reason 12, and I'm going to start here by create instruments, and I'm going to scroll down and find a red drum or redrum. I'm going to right click on it, reset device, and then I'm going to browse for some kick samples. I keep finding myself going back to the same kicks. All right, I'm going to lay this kick down on the 1, 5, 9, and 13. Press run. I'm going to put the tempo up to 130 beats per minute. And now what I'm doing is I'm listening for this kick. And if it sounds too big, I'm going to have to put the drum length down to make it smaller so it isn't sitting on top of itself. Over there you can hear it's become a lot tighter, so I'm leaving space for my bass line. All right. Now I want to find out what key this kick is in. So I'm going to right click. Now if you're just using Reason, what you would do is you would go to Effects, Reason, so if you're just using Reason, what you would do is you would run the sound and you would click on the equalizer. And here, you can get an idea that it's probably around 60 hertz. It's between 40 hertz here and 80 hertz. And you would go online and you would search for a key frequency chart, which looks something like this, where it will show you the notes and the frequency of that note. So what you're doing is you're looking for the peak, which is over here, and seeing what frequency that is and figuring out the notes. Now the EQ in Reason is not so accurate, so I'm using a Pro Q3 EQ by Fab Filter. And as I play it, I'm going to hold my mouse over it, and it's showing me here that the peak is on the key of F sharp 3. And over here down here I can see where the key is. So with that in mind, I want to maybe try and pitch it up to get it into a G. Okay, that's a G sharp, it's a bit much. Take it down a bit. So just looking at that kick, right, I've got quite a bit of space here with my frequency range. So when I'm making the song, always got to think about, is the kick going to be on the top or is the bass going to be on top? Which one is where? So in this case, the kick is kind of high in the frequency range, so I'm going to try and make a lower bass which is going to sit underneath it. So create instruments. Maybe we should just start with the sub bass. So I'll use a Thor synthesizer. So you can go create instrument and then either search and type in Thor and then just double click it or drag and drop. So I'm going to right click it, reset it, and then show the programmer. Let's just start with something simple like a offbeat 4 on the floor kind of vibe. So I'm going to take my pencil tool, I'm going to draw a bar and double click on it. So that was in the key of G, right? So G, C, D, E, F, G. So the kick is doing this. Boom, 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 boom. So let's loop the section. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to press P. So now the bass is playing on top of the kick, which we don't want. And I'm going to select this bass note and we're going to bring it over to the side. It should be on 1, 3. So it's sitting in between the kick. Obviously it's way too high. Select it. And we're going to drop it down a few notes. So what, G2? Let's try that. Still too high. G1. So we're going to make this into a sub-E bass by turning it into a sine wave. Maybe remove some of that clicky sound in the beginning by bringing the attack up. And let's bring the release up a bit. It's just to bring out the end of it a bit more. Okay, so now let's check out this frequency. So I'm adding a Pro Q3 to the bass. You can see where it is basically in the same frequency of where that kick is. So here, what I'm doing with Pro Q3 is I'm showing you the kick and the bass line together. Here's the kick in white and the bass line's in red behind it. And you can see they're sitting on top of each other. Not ideal. So we're going to bring that bass down even more. Just over here, I'm going to bring the octave down. Now, if you've got small speakers, you might not be hearing that. But if we check the frequency, okay, so now what we're going to do is this peak here, this part here of the kick, we're going to remove the lower frequencies so it's giving space for that bass line. See, from here you can hear the kick has pretty much lost its oomph, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bass line and I'm going to free up this space here for the kick. So open up the EQ. Just going to remove some of the lows. And add a little point to remove some frequencies from the bass line. Okay, and to take this even further, we're going to sidechain the kick and the bass line. So when the kick plays, it's going to push the bass line down. Here's my bass synth, and at the end of the chain, right click and add a compressor. Then I'm going to create another redrum. I'm going to press tab to turn the instruments around. And here's my redrum. I'm going to disconnect it, the stereo out. And instead of going to the master or the mixer, it's going to go here into this compressor, sidechain in, which is beneath this bass line. Redrum into the compressor. The compressor is on the bass synth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down exactly where the kick is and run this redrum. You're not going to hear anything because it's going into the compressor. Now you can see this is pumping. What I want to do is bring the attack down, bring my release quick, and bring down the length of this kick drum. There we go. So now it's got more of a up-down pumping motion. So let's hear this bass line. Let's mute this kick in the meantime. So if I remove this compressor, it's not so obvious. So let's maybe bring the threshold up, down even. Now you can't even hear the bass line. So bring the release down more. It's ever so slight. Just making a little bit of space for the kick drum. So now probably a lot of speakers can't even hear that bass line. So let's duplicate that bass line. And on the second layer, we're going to change it to sawtooth and add chorus. And we'll play with the frequency. Cool, nice bouncy bass line. Let's just save this. Let's try and make this bass line a bit more interesting, shall we? So I'm just gonna select these, hold on Control, just drag them over. You can use these later. Let's make this bass line bounce a bit, shall we? So again, I'm selecting them, holding down Control and moving them. Select this loop and press P so we can loop it. So now it's got a typical kind of like a rolling bass line progressive sound. But let's make it a bit more interesting. So normally kind of like EBM-ish kind of future poppy bass lines, so you bounce in between the octaves. So we're gonna take a note here and hold down Control and move it so I can go to extra notes. And bring this all the way up one octave. So it's on G1, we'll take it to G2. And I'm gonna take this note and put it in a couple of different places. Still sounds really trancey, right? Take this and put up a semitone. Let's try to fill up some of these spaces here. Try to duplicate that for the sub bass. Might be a bit too crazy actually. So let's give that bass line some movement. We're gonna copy this top layer, the sawtooth layer, and I'm gonna change it up a bit. I'm gonna turn this more to, I guess, a super saw. So 3 saw waves tuned differently, different positions. Yeah, let's try that. Let's bring the feedback up. And shape it a bit. give it some movements. Let's use the LFO, send it to the frequency filter. Let's try to take this bass line somewhere. So I'm going to take a section of it. We're going to move it around, select all, and let's try 5 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's color it differently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now let's try give it some like grit or some balls or something. Maybe distort the bass line a bit. Right click on the red drum, add a scream under effects. Let's hear effects scream. Okay, let's get our mixing right. Bass drum is always -10. Put this on VU. Let's try and make it a bit smaller. Bring down the length. Make it mono. Bring the width down. So this is the sub bass. Let's make the sub bass also mono. Sub bass is normally like 2 decibels or so underneath the kick. Let's try add some reverb to this, or maybe some delay. Tempo sync, 3/16. It needs something else. Right click effects and Reason will add a phaser. If you watch my videos, you know I love phasers. Sorry. Slow phaser, make the rate slower. This might actually be a bit too fast. Let's try it a bit slower. Okay, that clearly needs a snare. So create instruments, redrum, look for a snare. Snare goes on the 5 and the 13. Snare clearly needs distortion, so right click, effects, scream. Let's add some variation to the snare. So we're going to make it a 4-bar loop, so 64 steps. And here we go through the steps. So 5 and 13, 5 and 13 on all of them. And then the variation will happen on the 2nd and the 4th step. 2nd step, 4th step. it's not playing because this loop is too small. 2-bar loop into a 4-bar loop. Okay, so now this is the 4-bar loop section we're working on, and I need some pads. So we're going to create instruments to Europa. Go through some of their pads. So factory sounds, Europa, excuse me, I'm a little bit sick here, pads. And so it's in the key of G, right? But it got some weird things going on with the bass line, where it's also going into G sharp. G sharp. So let's open up the digital keyboard, F4. Go to this. I'm going to right click on the synth and add underneath players, there's a scales and chords. Change this to a G, scale of G, not major because it's too happy. And try Mixolydian. So now I'm using my digital keyboard. So I'm using my real keyboard and hitting on keys. Not hearing anything because it's muted. Open chords. It's maybe too much release. Too much reverb. If you want to understand chords, watch this video here. Anyways, so now I'm going to play some chords on top of this bass line, just find what sounds good. So what is this doing? What's this thing doing? It's going in between G and C. G and C. G. This is C. C. Could be too fast, so maybe we just play this for 2 bars instead of 1. that synth sound is just not working. Yeah, let's record that. So very simple, G to C, and then back to G. Make a note here, right click, add labels, G, C. So know what keys I'm using. I don't know if I'm really happy with that synth, so maybe try some more sounds. Good trick is sometimes use this dim 20 and listen to it really softly. You can see what's sticking out too much. That sounds like an okay-ish kind of verse. So I'm going to take this, I'm just going to duplicate it. And we're going to now think about, so if this is the verse, here's going to be a chorus. But what key does it go into? So we're going to change it up, but let's just find the key first. What key does it go to? So select everything here. Let's try 5 semitones again. Let's try 7, 6, 7. That's back to G. So what's that? O, D. Okay, let's try this. Just changing the pattern up a little bit. So this is D to B. So make a note. D, B. So it's going from G, C to D and B. Okay, so that doesn't look quite so good over there. But obviously you want more of like a pow when it goes from this section to this section. So two ways to do that. Either remove stuff, which is I guess the easier way to do it. Let's lay it on this kick drum. Go into my kick drum, copy pattern to track, and then disable the pattern selection. So this is what it sounds like with a break or pause between the sections. Oops. Let's also get the snare. So. Might be nice to add something there, some kind of something. Maybe let's do something with the snare. Let's make them fade up a bit in volume. And effects. Effects are very important. It really makes it sound professional if you add some kind of pushes or pews or whatever the fuck. And don't forget the crashes. Crashes pretty much always work. Not always, but pretty much always. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this effect. Yeah, we need some more energy. Need some more energy. Easy way to do this is to create a Dr. Octo Rex and then find a nice drum pattern, drum loop. Make sure it's in the right key as well. D. Distort the heck out of it. Remove the low frequencies. Yeah, oopsie. So let's get this drum loop there. Right click, copy loop to track, disable it. So now the whole thing is I'm trying to find a way to loop back to this beginning section and create a song from that, basically. So let's see if we can find some kind of full space here. Something like that. It needs a bit of work. But I think for almost 1 hour, that's not too bad. The idea now is what we'd do is duplicate everything we got, or almost, get this loop right. And that's, I think that's all I can do right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll continue this one later.